Let me know which your time. Watch this video. Let's watch this video. Watch.
Government publicly pleads with the stateless people to calm down. You're about to find out. This isn't fiction. This is real life. What happens when a European government publicly pleads with the stateless people to calm down? You're about to find out. This isn't fiction. This is real life. The government of Finland, yes, a respected democracy in Europe, has done something almost unheard of. They begged citizens of the United States of Biafra to ease global pressure over the arrest of their leader, Simon Ekpa. What started as a quiet detention exploded into international outrage, diplomatic scandal, and online chaos. Why? Because this story isn't just about one man, it's about a silenced people fighting to be heard. It's about Queen Eagle boldly confronting Finland's president on American soil. It's about lawyers suing, activists rising, babies being trafficked, and African giants like Dr. David Matsanga and Professor P.L.O. Lumumba stepping in to fight for justice. This is no longer a Nigerian issue, it's a continental awakening. So why is Finland suddenly vulnerable? What secrets are hiding behind Simon Ekpa's arrest? And what exactly is going to happen on October 10th, 2025? A date that may either heal old wounds or rip open new ones. Stay with us. The truth you're about to hear could shake everything you thought you knew. The Finnish government reportedly begged United States of Biafra, USB, citizens to calm down over Simon Ekpa's detention, acknowledging intense pressure from massive online protests and real-world demonstrations. Queen Eagle, the USB Secretary of Finance, publicly criticized Finnish President Alexander Stubb during an international summit in Washington, D.C., accusing him of colluding with Nigeria to suppress Biafrans. Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer, Aloy Ejimakor, filed a defamation lawsuit against two entities, Tega Ogedoro and Secret Reporters, for spreading falsehoods about him, warning other critics to beware. Aloy Ejimakor strongly condemned Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, for suggesting national ranch creation, calling it unconstitutional and a failed attempt to favor non-indigenous interests. Aloy Ejimakor called on Professor P.L.O. Lumumba and other African legal minds to join his team for Nnamdi Kanu's October 10th, 2025 trial in Abuja, a date symbolically tied to past Biafra-related protests and civil war memories. Meanwhile, Dr. David Matsanga, a Kenyan human rights activist, declared his full support for the Biafra cause, promising to fight in African courts and ensure Biafra's freedom becomes a reality. Reports surfaced alleging Nigerian police officers in Ebonyi were involved in selling babies for N25 million, with N700,000 allegedly paid to mothers to disappear. A story involving police, NAPTIP, and state officials. Nigerian troops in Borno and Adamawa reportedly seized advanced tech like Starlink devices from terrorists, raising concerns about increased sophistication among violent groups, but also offering hope for easier tracking. A major fundraising campaign is ongoing in Orlu State to raise N50 million in support of USB defense and to protect the land against military and Fulani militia threats. This event is not just one isolated matter. It is a thread connected to many sensitive topics involving law, identity, justice, and power in Nigeria, Finland, and across the globe. At the heart of it lies a very disturbing tension between a government in Europe, an emerging self-determined people called the United States of Biafra, USB, and the continued detention of their prominent spokesperson, Simon Ekpa. This story involves international legal battles, cyber protests, police scandals, military aggression, and civil rights outcries. And all these threads came to a head in one explosive twist. The government of Finland pleading with USB citizens to calm down. To begin with, the most glaring problem in this story is the ongoing detention of Simon Ekpa. Simon Ekpa, a Finnish-based Biafran freedom advocate, has been at the center of controversy in both Europe and Nigeria due to his political activism for the independence of Biafra. His actions have stirred the emotions of millions, especially the USB community spread across the globe. His voice became a symbol of resistance, his messages a call to action, and his face an image that ignited protests, both online and in the streets. Now, Simon Ekpa's detention created a deep political political and moral crisis for Finland. The Finnish government, under President Alexander Stubb, initially maintained a quiet diplomatic stance, citing national security laws and legal neutrality. But that neutrality began to break apart as a wave of fierce protests, digital and physical, erupted from USB citizens and sympathizers. Massive pressure began to build, most notably when Queen Eagle, the fiery and articulate USB Secretary of Finance, openly criticized President Stubb at a major international summit in Washington, D.C. Queen Eagle did not hold back. She accused President Stubb of collaborating with the Nigerian government to weaken the Biafran movement by targeting one of its most vocal leaders. Her words were not whispered in corners, they echoed through diplomatic halls. It was a scandal Finland did not expect. This added fuel to the already burning outrage among USB citizens. And the Finnish government found itself on the defensive. Now, let's take a look at how this problem began. It started with a quiet arrest. Seaman Ekpa was detained on suspicion of crimes relating to incitement, tax fraud, and potential threats to national security. Finnish authorities cited his online campaigns as contributing to civil unrest in Nigeria. But to the USB citizens, this arrest was not about crime. It was about silencing a voice calling for justice, freedom, and Biafran self-determination. The contradiction in perspectives created the perfect storm. As global attention increased, the pressure mounted on Finnish authorities, forcing them to do something they rarely do: plead with a foreign diaspora to de-escalate tensions. When news broke that the Finnish government had begged USB citizens to calm down, it sent shockwaves through social media. It wasn't just that a European government was engaging with a non-sovereign movement. It was that they were doing so from a place of vulnerability. It revealed just how much influence and disruption the Biafran movement, and Seaman Ekpa in particular, had stirred across borders. Meanwhile, legal battles took a dramatic turn. Nnamdi Kanu, the long-detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, found his legal team under fire. Aloy Ejimakor, his prominent lawyer, filed a defamation lawsuit against two individuals, Tega Ogedoro and the media outlet Secret Reporters, for allegedly publishing false claims about him. According to Ejimakor, this wasn't just an attempt to defend his personal reputation. It was a warning shot to anyone trying to destabilize the legal fight for Nnamdi Kanu. Ejimakor also took direct aim at General Christopher Musa, the Chief of Defense Staff in Nigeria. Musa had proposed a national ranching program, a move that Ejimakor labeled unconstitutional and dangerous. He accused Musa of using the proposal as a backdoor to favor Fulani herders over indigenous peoples. This sparked even more anger among Biafrans, who view land control and herdsman violence as existential threats. This wasn't just a policy disagreement. It was framed as another form of conquest dressed in national security language. Now, let's discuss the consequences. The diplomatic image of Finland has been shaken. Their credibility as a neutral actor is now under scrutiny in the eyes of USB citizens, African political observers, and human rights advocates around the world. Nigeria is also facing a wave of distrust, with allegations of police misconduct surfacing in places like Ebonyi State, where reports suggest that infants were being sold illegally by police operatives, some mothers paid to disappear in exchange for money. If proven true, this is not just a scandal, it is a human rights disaster. The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPE-TYPE, has been drawn into the mess alongside several state officials. As if that were not enough, Nigerian soldiers in the northeast reportedly confiscated high-tech communication devices like Starlink from terrorist groups in Borno and Adamawa. This raised a chilling concern. How did terrorists get such sophisticated technology? While it reveals an uncomfortable truth about the growing strength of violent groups, it also offers a glimmer of hope. These devices could be used to trace and track these networks more efficiently, if handled wisely. On the home front, communities like those in Orlu are not waiting for international courts or politicians to save them. They are mobilizing. Local USB leaders launched a campaign to raise N50 million to fund their defense, both in terms of legal fees and territorial protection from Fulani militia and military incursions. This shows a population that has stopped asking for help and started taking responsibility for its own future. Meanwhile, Dr. David Matsanga, a respected Kenyan activist, has offered his full support to the Biafra cause. He said he would fight in African courts to ensure that Biafran voices are not silenced. His involvement gives the movement Pan-African legitimacy, connecting it to broader struggles for justice, sovereignty, and human dignity on the continent. Back in the legal sphere, Aloy Ejimakor is not done yet. He is now assembling a legal dream team to represent Nnamdi Kanu at his October 10th, 2025 trial in Abuja. That date is highly symbolic, linked to memories of past protests and civil war trauma. Ejimakor has invited the famous Kenyan lawyer and Pan-Africanist, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, to join him. If Lumumba accepts, the trial could become a historic showdown on African soil, a battle of law, ideology, and continental conscience. But let's pause and ask, what provoked all of this? The underlying provocation is a sense of historical injustice. The Biafran people, mostly from southeastern Nigeria, feel that they have been marginalized, oppressed, and violently suppressed for decades. From the 1967 to 1970 Civil War to present-day military crackdowns, their wounds remain fresh. The arrest of Simon Ekpa and the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu are seen as renewed efforts to crush the movement. Ignored or attacked, they resist. That resistance has taken many forms: legal battles, online protests, fundraising campaigns, and diplomatic confrontations. So, what can be done? There are possible solutions, but they are difficult and require bold steps. First, diplomatic transparency must improve. Finland must clarify its legal grounds for detaining Simon Ekpa and open dialogue with USB representatives. This may include international mediation. Second, the Nigerian government must address the root causes of the Biafran demand: inequality, insecurity, and a lack of political inclusion. Third, independent investigations should be carried out into the baby selling scandal and other allegations of abuse. These crimes must be addressed, not covered up. As for the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, it must be fair, public, and internationally monitored. If this trial is seen as a political show, it could further deepen anger and legitimize calls for independence. Are we far from these solutions? Unfortunately, yes. The trust between governments and the people has been badly damaged. Both sides are suspicious and emotions are high. However, the involvement of respected figures like Dr. David Matsanga and Professor P.L.O. Lumumba could bridge that gap. If they can turn the conversation from blame to justice and from anger to negotiation, then there is hope. Ultimately, this story is about voices. Some want those voices silenced, others want them heard. The Finnish government's plea to USB citizens was not just a diplomatic maneuver. It was a recognition of a powerful truth. The people cannot be ignored. In the coming weeks and months, the story will continue to unfold. Eyes will remain on Finland, Nigeria, the international courts, and especially on October 10th, 2025. Will that day bring justice or more pain? Will it unite or divide further? For now, we can only watch, wait, and hope that justice will not just be done, but be seen to be done. Until then, Queen Eagle's voice echoes. Simon Ekpa's silence rings loudly. And the people of Biafra remain unshaken in their belief that freedom is not a crime, and that even in the face of global politics, their truth must find its way to light. The news of the Finnish government pleading with United States of Biafra, USB, citizens, has created shockwaves across global political circles and ignited passionate discussions on social media and in international summits. This story reveals a deeply rooted political, legal, and humanitarian crisis that goes beyond borders. It's not just about one man named Simon Ekpa, nor about one country's decisions. It is about identity, justice, power, betrayal, and a people's cry for liberation that refuses to be silenced. The heart of the matter began with the continued detention of Simon Ekpa, a prominent Biafran figure and a citizen of Finland. His arrest sparked immediate backlash among Biafran supporters around the world. especially among USB citizens who view him as a symbol of their struggle for freedom. For months, his supporters have protested vigorously, both online and physically in cities across Europe, America and Africa, demanding his release and accusing Finland of bending to pressure from Nigeria. Tension peaked recently when Queen Eagle, the Secretary of Finance of the United States of Biafra, took the international stage at a high-level summit in Washington, D.C., and directly accused Finnish President Alexander Stubb of colluding with Nigeria to oppress the Biafran people. The moment was dramatic and widely covered as Queen Eagle, wearing traditional Biafran attire, passionately voiced the frustrations of her people. Her words pierced the silence that had long covered Finland's involvement. She didn't mince words. She openly labeled the actions of Finland's government as cowardly and manipulative, pointing fingers at President Stubb and calling for his accountability. These accusations stirred global attention. Finnish authorities, caught in a whirlwind of diplomatic backlash and mass public scrutiny, responded with an unexpected plea. In a closed-door session, later leaked to the press, Finnish officials reportedly asked USB citizens and their global supporters to reduce the intensity of their demonstrations and assured them that Simon Ekpa's rights would be respected during legal proceedings. This unexpected act of diplomacy from a European nation toward an unrecognized state drew mixed reactions. For USB citizens, it was an acknowledgement of their growing international influence. For critics, it was a sign of a European government caving under activist pressure. The situation gained even more complexity when Aloy Ejimakor, a senior lawyer representing Nnamdi Kanu, filed a defamation suit against Tega Ogedoro and the media organization Secret Reporters. Ejimakor claimed that these individuals and platforms had published lies meant to damage his professional and personal image. But deeper than the legal argument is the symbolic message. Anyone spreading falsehoods against those defending the Biafran cause would face consequences. Ejimakor did not stop there. He launched a full verbal attack on Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, who recently proposed the creation of national ranches to resolve conflicts between herders and farmers. Ejimakor argued that this policy was a veiled agenda to favor Fulani interests and encourage the gradual displacement of indigenous landowners. His remarks triggered a heated debate across Nigeria's political landscape, exposing long-standing ethnic tensions and fears about land ownership, cultural preservation, and national unity. Meanwhile, in Kenya, Dr. David Matsanga, a respected human rights activist and Pan-African voice, made a bold declaration in support of Biafra. He announced his intention to join forces with Biafran legal teams and fight for justice in African courts. Dr. Matsanga's reputation as a principled and fearless advocate gave hope to many, especially those who believe the African Union should take a more active role in preventing internal colonialism and supporting the rights of oppressed groups. Another troubling layer to this story is the unfolding scandal in Ebonyi State, where reports surfaced that Nigerian police officers, in collaboration with some corrupt government officials, were involved in the sale of infants. Babies were reportedly taken from their mothers, who were paid around £700,000 each, while the babies were sold for as much as £25 million. The scale of the operation and the involvement of law enforcement has triggered national outrage. Investigations are underway, but trust in the Nigerian police force has taken yet another hit. Simultaneously, Nigerian military units operating in Borno and Adamawa states reportedly intercepted terrorists using advanced satellite communication equipment, including Starlink devices. The discovery of such sophisticated technology in the hands of violent groups raised alarming questions about the sources of their funding and the potential for international links. Yet, this breakthrough also offers a strategic advantage. Intelligence agencies now have tools to track and intercept terror cells more effectively. Back in southeastern Nigeria, especially in places like Olu, grassroots movements have grown stronger. USB supporters in these regions have launched a massive fundraising campaign to raise N50 million. The funds are intended to support legal defenses, community protection projects, and resistance against continued military and Fulani militia threats. This campaign is being driven